hello. Welcome to episode 91 of the Payers and Players podcast. We got a special guest with us today. Before we get into that, if you would, follow us on Twitter at Payers Players. We really appreciate it. So, Scott, you want to dive into our guest and introduce him?
Yeah, I think you're selling him short by saying we had a special guest. We got a legendary guest today.
There we go.
Yeah, he's a player. He was a two-time All-American at Georgia, and at his alma mater, he's been the coach there for 36 seasons. He's won 4 national titles and 29 SEC championships. Coach Manny Diaz, welcome to the podcast.
Good to be with you, Scott and Robert.
Well, hey, just real quick before we get started, a couple years ago, my son was playing Winter Southerns, and he played a kid from Athens, Georgia. And after the match, I said to him, you know that you just played the Georgia coach's son, and he was watching you. And he was like, oh, Manny Diaz was watching me? I was like, no. Kirby Smart was watching you. So he was disappointed. Disappointed that it was Kirby. He wanted you to watch his match. So that was a good story.
That's funny.
That's funny. There's probably not many athletes that Kirby would watch them and then them be disappointed. So that's a funny story, Scott.
Yeah. Hey,
Coach, would you start real quick? Just give us a quick tour of your office and the view you've got outside the window there.
Yeah, no. So I can see all our courts from my desk. Try to keep that sun from shining in the morning. Comes in from that side, but just got our national championship teams. Some of them on this little wall, and a national championship poster. I think that's 2008. Just some of the personal stuff. I got all kinds of family stuff, I guess, reminders, and we got some two of our players that I have coached that made top 10 in the world, Michael Pernfors and John Isner, as well as Matthias Boker, who won the Triple Crown. Some personal recognitions, Coach of the Year awards, etc. But now just over here, just right by our tennis courts. Feel fortunate to come into this facility every day. I have to pinch myself. It's just a great site.
Yeah, it's not a bad view, not a bad place to come into the office. My office has just a window in the door to see into the hallway. So you got me beat by a mile.
Yeah, it's a cool looking office. Cool office, cool view. So Scott, you want to start with the first question?
Sure. So, I mean, one of the amazing things about being at a facility, an institution like Georgia for 36 years, you probably had a lot of amazing players come through there. But maybe one of the most amazing players was a player you had in probably your first season, and Al Parker. And I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about Al and what kind of player he was, because people that know his story, he's one of the most decorated junior players of all time. Had some injuries that wasn't able to make it on the pro tour, but just an amazing player, amazing person. Give us some memories of Al Parker as a player and a Georgia Bulldog.
Well, it was. Al was the highest decorated. He's got more gold balls, junior gold balls than anybody in the history of the USTA. So, he's been somebody that I've known since he was like, I think 12 or 14 years old. The first time I kind of saw him play as a junior, because his family is from close to Savannah, Claxton, Georgia, and he didn't have anybody to practice with over there after he got pretty good. So he would have to travel about an hour to get some tennis lessons and some practice in Savannah. But his family is they're owners of the world famous fruitcake. That's Claxton Fruitcake Company, and Mid Parker, his dad, is just an outstanding gentleman. He would always bring us for Christmas a big box of fruitcakes that we kind of gave out throughout the athletic department. But coaching Al was one of the easiest jobs anybody could have had. Just a gentleman, just a well-behaved. I should say this with caution. He was a perfectionist. He was so conscientious, I should say. He would come every day prepared for practice. He went through high school and college with a 4.0. So he was very, very focused and very determined to be the best that he could be. As a professional, he probably didn't enjoy the road as much as he I guess wanted to and envision as a professional. He also his senior year of college developed a condition that had been with him for a long time, but it really just got it became a little bit more of an issue. He had a lower back condition that really would become inflamed and really give him a lot of discomfort and a lot of pain. So he, as a pro, he was not able to be the player that we all wanted him to be, right? That he worked so hard to be, and after 1 or 2 years, he decided, he would come back and to the United States, and he decided to go to Harvard and get his MBA, and he's ultra successful now. And he's a close friend and a dog for life.
Yeah, he's featured in a movie called 50,000 Balls. Have you ever seen it?
I have not.
Yeah, it's a tennis, kind of a junior tennis documentary. I recommend. We always recommend it to anybody that's on. And TJ Puro, who played at Duke, his dad made it, and so you could see it on like Apple TV Plus, on Apple TV. But they really kind of tell his story, and he tells his story as well in it. It's really good. So I'm so happy Scott asked that question because I totally forgot he played for y'all. Yeah. I mean, what a tradition. Can you talk a little bit about some of the best players that you've coached and some of them, maybe the ones that people don't even know of?
Well, it's been a long time. This is my 42nd year this year. I did 6 years as an assistant and an associate head coach under Coach McGill, who I played for. So, it was a different era in so many ways. I mean, from our travel budgets to our facility that has come such a long way, to basically, back then there were just a handful of programs that really competed for national championships. Now it's such a different story. You have so many good teams. Used to be that if you were outside of the top 10 or 15 nationally ranked teams, I didn't lose much sleep. Now you play somebody that's ranked 45 and you still got to worry. Anybody can beat anybody. There's so much parity and so many good teams, so many good coaches. So the game has changed a lot. But for us, I mean, we've had so many great players, from Matthias Boker, who is one of only 3 players to win the Triple Crown. He also decided after a couple of years to go to Harvard and get his MBA, and now he works for Apple, very successful, and still very close to our program. But from guys like Hisham Hameda, who now lives in Abu Dhabi and an executive for M&M Mars, I believe it is, worldwide, to gosh, you probably have to ask me about more guys than I can recall off the top of my head. Coaching Michael Pernfors was a special deal for me. Somebody that just found ways to win, just incredible ways. When you thought that he was out of a match, he'd always bring out his best. I don't know that there's anybody else that has won more matches for Georgia, and he only played 2 years. Right. After winning the junior college national championships 2 years in a row, he came to Georgia as a junior, and just won so much for us. There's a gazillion players that have come through our program that have left their mark, and some of them have. We take a great deal of pride in the success that we have at the bottom of the lineup. Our courts are a little bit tiered, so the bottom 3 courts are sort of a little bit more in a bowl, and we take such great pride in calling that the pit, and we call that the pit because that's where national championships are won for us. Right. The value of a good number 4 and a good number 6 player to us is paramount, and we've had so many good players that have played down there and just been so important to our success. And so, John Roddick started as a number 2 junior in the country. He came over here and played number 5 for us his freshman year. and moved up and played 1 and 2 for us after that. But so many of our players start down there, and that's that's where our history is really marked.
Yeah, it's amazing. And Robert also works for Apple, so he's going to have to look at Matthias Booker later on and connect with him. So maybe they can find something to collab on.
Yeah, that'd be good. Well, tell us a little bit about Scott wants to know a little bit about also coaching John Isner.
Yeah, I mean, the reason I ask is he's such a unique player. Probably you don't have many 6'10" guys, and probably that was a project. I'm not sure how he was as a freshman coming in, but what was some of the things that when he first came in? How did you say we're going to develop your game, and we're going to see you succeed at the ATP level?
I think with John, it was such a different case because he was so tall and so lanky. I mean, he was 6'9.5" at the time, and he was 195 pounds. So physically, he was from where he eventually got to by his senior year. I think he probably grew another 1.5 or 2 in his four years here. He put on 45 pounds of muscle. He went from being one of our least flexible players to our most flexible player. So he worked very hard on his strength, but he also worked very hard on his flexibility because as a freshman, he was mostly playing at number 3, some at number 2. And by the end of the year, his body wasn't strong enough to really keep him healthy. So he developed some lower back problems by his freshman year. And he was very limited in our postseason. So he took the summer to get healthier and made a commitment to get stronger and work on his flexibility, like I said. And, even that sophomore year where he really made a jump and really became our 1 or 2 player, I actually was very careful to bring him along slowly. I even had some fights, good-natured fights with his older brother because he kept saying that he was our number 1 player, and I didn't need to be told he was my number 1 player. But I was trying to bring him along and making sure that he wasn't going to get hurt like his freshman year, and continue to build his confidence. And by the end of the year, he was playing number 1 and having great success. But it was great coaching John because he was so coachable. As a freshman, I challenged him to become a little bit more of a serve and volleyer, or being just only for the sake of being able to use that to his advantage. He was not a serve and volleyer at all. And, very similar ways to Michael Pernfors as well as Matthias Booker. Great players are very, very receptive, very coachable, and they are able to see the long road. They're not looking at short-term success as much as how to get, to where they want to go. And John was very understanding that, he needed to develop a transition game. He was big and not the fastest guy around. So, playing from the baseline forever, wasn't going to be strictly, something he wanted to do. So he was, he had a very natural forehand. His forehand was an outstanding shot as well as, and people, always focused on his serve because it was exceptional and probably one of the best shots in the history of the sport. But his forehand was tremendous. And so the thing with John is, how to use his backhand, how to stay neutral with his backhand, and how to take control of the point, either with a big serve and a big forehand, or, occasionally serve and volley. So, he became extremely good. I really thought when he turned pro, I thought his success was more going to be leaning towards his doubles because he was such a good doubles player. But he made up his mind to make a mark and give it the best shot that he could in singles. And, he was so ready. In his first summer, he reached the finals. He won his first future. Then he went to a challenger. He got a wild card from the USA, won the challenger, and got a wild card in Washington, D.C. at the ATP Tour event there. And he won 4 or 5 straight matches, 7-6 in the third. And that was the beginning of tiebreaker John. And he lost to Andy Roddick in the finals in 3 sets. And he was off to the races. Was able to get into the 3rd or 4th round at the U.S. Open and played Roger Federer center court when Roger was at his best, and won the first set in Ash in front of 24,000 fans. So, playing in college tennis and playing on our venue in front of 6,000 people here for the NCAAs, had him ready for the big stage. So it was fun to see. And, he's always represented not only University of Georgia, he's represented his family, first-class manner, the University of Georgia, the U.S. in Davis Cup. Some of his best performances were in Davis Cup. Beat maybe Federer. He may have, beaten, I forgot where he clinched Eastern Europe somewhere. Anyway, he was an outstanding Davis Cup player because he just loved playing for a team so much. And that was, it's just been great to track his career, and now to see him retire and have a wonderful family, young family. Just, he's going to be a tremendous success at whatever he puts his mind to.
Yeah.
Well, Coach, real quick before we move on from him, you mentioned he increased his flexibility. Any ideas on how he did that other than just stretching a lot?
It's working with our trainers, with our medical staff, with our strength and conditioning coaches. He just made it. He knew that was going to be important. And from the I believe I'm correct, from the get-go, he always traveled. He always had a team that included a physio and a chiropractor and somebody that really worked on his body, because he's such a large athlete. He made it a priority, and that was always sort of after that first year. He really came to understand that he had to take care of his body, and he played through a lot. Had some issues with his ankle, had some issues with his knees, but he's on top of his game in that regard.
Yeah. To have such a long career at that size. I mean, Riley Opelka struggles with it, so I mean, you can sort of see that you've got to put a lot of work and dedication into it, and it's just got to be part of the routine and part of the discipline. So it's that says a lot for him. Here in Louisville, we have a player that you may have missed on, Eric Quigley. He works with my son a little bit, and when he was making this decision, I know it's down to Kentucky and Georgia. Can you talk a little bit about recruiting Eric and what that would have meant for the team?
No, Eric turned out to be a great one. He really played a big part in bringing Kentucky up to an elite status, and it was just always a very tough opponent for us, both singles and doubles, and just a great young man. And I didn't know he was coaching or teaching tennis in Louisville, but he was always a very good player for them for 4 years.
Yeah, he does a little bit on the side. He has a regular job, and then he does a little bit of work with some of the juniors here. But he's like you say, he's just a great guy, just super. He loves the game so much, and he loves teaching it the right way. So he's a great guy. But
he was a good one that got away.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, you can't have them all. So, so one of the things I often wonder, and I know there's a lot of potential coaches that listen to the podcast, and one of the things they ask often is, what are your non-tennis related duties for the University of Georgia? Do you have to teach classes? Do you have any responsibilities that are not tennis in your job?
I don't. Tennis is a full-time job. I don't have more than 70 or 80 hours. So no, I'm just a head tennis coach, and that occupies my time.
What I might have meant by that question is you obviously coach on court, but what are the things that you do sort of off court in terms of community development, building relationships, fundraising, things that we might not see in the background that you do to make the program so successful?
Many. I think you hit on some. You have to really connect with the community. I think that's one of the things that in order for a program to be successful, you have to be valued within your community. community. In order for you to be able to fill the stands, you have to, you have to give more than you are willing to receive in that sense. We have to be visible. We have to not only, we have our team just, visit hospitals and sick children and doing that type of stuff, but just, just connecting with the local country clubs, connecting with our tennis facilities here local. We have, Oconee, Clark, Athens, Clark, Oconee County tennis community. Through social media, we stay very connected with them. We try to promote our matches. You definitely need to fundraise some. And while I don't claim to be the best or busiest at that, we have a large contingent of just a long list of former players, and they stay very close. One of the things I'm most proud of is just being able to claim to have unofficially probably the largest WhatsApp group of former tennis legends at the University of Georgia. We have over 125 former Letterman former players here at the University of Georgia that we it's a brotherhood, and we stay in touch, and every day is somebody's birthday, and the stories that come out each and every day, are numerous, and just it's a way for our former players. We have we have players from the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, through the 2020, through last year, that all as they graduate, they all come on and they are a part of this brotherhood. And it's probably one of the most popular things that I've done, here within our program, is just finding a way to keep all of our former players engaged and connected. That's a lot of fun too.
And now you have some of those former players, their kids are on the team now. So talk a little bit about the culture and what that means as far as, how you're able to build and sustain that family when now you've got, Parker Jacks, whose dad played for you. You have Parker Marianchuk, whose dad played for you. Davis Taylor, his mom played on the women's team.
Yes.
But you have three sort of legacies there, and they're all good players. But what's it mean to have that next generation?
Well, I think that for forever, we have made our program about family. Once you're a dog, you're always a dog, and that has been a very important part of what we have built here. You just don't come through the University of Georgia. You're a part of it, whether you played here 1 or 2 years or whether you stayed all 4. We just take a great deal of pride in just as coaches, just playing, just being a drop in the bucket, just affecting who these young men that come through our program become. And it's important to recruit character, but it's also important for us to help develop it. And I think that, for most of the kids that have come through, the thing that I'm most proud of is when, they all come back and say, you were like my second father. You were my dad away from home, kid from Romania or a kid from Serbia or a kid from France, just being there for people and showing them you care, in their development, not only as a tennis player, that's so limited, but who they become. And that takes, a lot of work. You have to, figure out how to reach each individual on your program and your team. And it's not always the easiest to figure that one out. You can't coach everybody the same way. You have to figure out how to connect with each one at their level. I always refer to, you have to meet people where they are. And that's not always about where I am. And I don't, I said this on a recent podcast as well. I don't coach everybody the same, and everybody's got strengths and weaknesses. And it's about, strengthening your strengths, but it's also about strengthening, your weaknesses and being able to you have a shield and you have a sword. We always talk about that. And but on a personal level, this is my job is so much more than just being a tennis coach. Getting to know your team, each person, and knowing, what's important to them, where they come from, what is their situation, is one of the most important things in order to be able to affect their lives.
Well, speaking of legacies, let me show you a video real quick. Let me see if I can get it to pop up. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Who is this 14-year-old?
Is that Davis Taylor?
That's Davis when he was 14. So I asked his mom, I said, Mariano, tell us a question you want to ask Coach. And she had two good ones. Mariana's a huge tennis fan and a good fan of the podcast. And good fan of the podcast. And so she wants to know, what do you think makes up a really good coach? And then second, she wants to make sure that you're going to be there through Davis's full career. So she's confident multiple NCAA championships will be won, but she wonders what does the end of the career look like, and how long do you think you'll stay around?
Oh, I don't know. I've had a long career. I don't think anybody would have to guess that I'm not on the first half of my career, but. For the past 3, 4, 5 years, and I signed a 5-year contract or a 4-year contract about a year or so ago. So, I'm just having fun, and I continue to try to make a difference in these players' lives, and I'm just taking it as it comes. So my goal right now, I'm fully focused on the group that we have this year, and we have a very young team. We went from early this year. We went from, probably having on paper one of the better teams in the country. I think that's no secret. Ethan Quinn realized his goal of winning the NCAA singles and having an opportunity to jump into the pros probably earlier than we thought he might. So we lost him after 1 year, and then Alex Mickelson, we signed him, and he all of a sudden goes to number 94 in the world. He turns pro. Ignacio Busa, number 9 in the world ITF rankings, and he had some visa issues. Nobody I think knows about this in all specifics, but he applied for a green card 3 years ago. Was waiting on a final interview, and while he's waiting for his final interview, which got frozen during COVID, he was not eligible for a student visa. So we could not get him in school. So, that was first. We had never encountered anything similar to that. Yeah. So, all of a sudden you say, well, those probably on paper may be our top 3 players, some of the best 3 players in the country this year. But they're no longer here. So we have a very young team, and our focus now is to develop those guys and make them, the foundation for years to come. And so I don't know that I can answer your question, Robert, but we're here and we're developing players just like we have for the last 42 years, and that's still a lot of fun.
Hey, Robert, what was the first question that Mariana had?
Y'all hear me?
Yeah.
My internet went out. Sorry about that. Yeah. The first question was, can you just describe what you think the primary characteristics of a great coach are?
I think I may have touched a little bit on that. I think it's just, being able to connect with different players, who have different needs, different goals, different games, strengths and weaknesses. I think that's the key. I've seen a lot of great coaches that just haven't been able to understand that, and they have in many ways defined that this is the way the game should be played and the way the game should be coached, and they don't provide for enough flexibility. I always, have I tell my coaches, Jamie Hunt and Bryce, and, you always have to have, a game plan for every practice, but it's got to be written in sand. I mean, you have one or two kids that all of a sudden look a little out of sorts. You may have a kid that stayed up till 2 o'clock in the morning taking, studying for a test. You have another kid that his girlfriend, canned him. You have to deal with young men and young women if you're a women's coach, and you have to be able to understand. All I ask is that they're up front with me, and if you had a project due and you didn't get your sleep and you're a little bit at less than 100%, I know about it, number one, and number two, that you give me the best that you've got. For me, it's my biggest thing is I try to utilize every minute of practice. I'd rather have a good 2.5 hour practice than a half speed 3.5 hour practice. So we practice. We practice fast. We practice with purpose. We practice with a lot of energy. All of those things are paramount. And I think the other thing is, coaches cannot demand more than they are willing to give. If you're wanting your team to be defined, by being, fully engaged and full of energy and energetic and fight, you have to be that. They're going to see through you if they don't see those characteristics. If you want them to be engaged, you have to be engaged every minute of practice. So all of those things kind of add up and are important not only to our program, but I think in order to be successful, that those are things that you've got to possess.
And I would say it's very impressive that you've been able to do this and sustain that level for this long. A lot of coaches, they burn out after 20 years in a job, and you sort of see some of these programs start to falter and sort of fade. Georgia's has continued to stay at the highest level, and like I say, it's for you to do this for 36 years, 42 including your assistant time, beyond impressive and something that everybody should aspire to. One of the things that's also interesting is that your son is also doing a great job coaching right now. He's maybe doing too good of a job with Mickelson.
Yeah.
So, but can you talk a little bit about maybe what advice you gave him when he decided that he was going to decided to coach junior tennis and find some local talent in Southern California? I know he's working with Lerner Tien too. So two of the very top.
No, I mean, it wasn't until Eric's senior year in college that he came to the house for dinner and divulged that he was gonna be a tennis coach. And I went, why would you want to do that? He said, yeah, I don't want to be locked in an office. This is what I want to do. I think I want to give this a shot. I thought he was crazy, but he has done an exceptional job. He's a terrific young man, and he became an assistant coach at Boise State under Greg Patton for 1 year, and then went to Newport to visit a friend and spend the summer. And the guy said, if you come down here, you can make some money during the summer teaching lessons. And I thought, oh, wonderful, great. I have a summer camp here on campus, so you can make some extra money. And then towards the end of the summer, he said, I think I want to stay here and do this. And I go like, what? He said, no, I want to develop a business. And I think that the most impressive thing that Eric has done is not only coaching and becoming a great coach, but just seeing the business side of it. And he's had several partners. Jay Levitt is partner in Tier 1 Academy now, Tier 1 Performance it's called. And he's an incredible coach as well. And but he's had several partners before that moved on and to do other things, and he just stayed focused. And they have a tremendous, probably probably one of the most successful, if not the most successful, tennis development program in Southern California right now, with Lerner winning back-to-back Kalamazoo's, Alex Mickelson just coming out of nowhere. I saw the potential, you know, a long time ago, but you know, Eric and Jay have done a tremendous job developing that academy, and just deserve everything they get, you know, accolades their way.
Well, we definitely need to get him on the podcast. So maybe we could talk to you about getting your son on here.
I'm sure you'll have no problem.
Is he heading off to Australia with those guys soon?
Yes, he's set to visit us. His mom hasn't seen him in a whole year. I saw him at Kalamazoo. I saw him at the Open. You know, I see him from time to time on the road, but his mom is desperate to see him. He's coming home for a few days and basically has to go back the 25th on Christmas Day, back to California, because they leave on the 26th to go to Australia, him and Alex.
That's awesome. One of the things you talked about earlier was, you know, sort of the community engagement and how you get crowds there. But, you know, one of the things that's amazing to hear when, you know, you go to, say, a local college tennis match at most colleges, and you're in the 100 to 200 range of spectators, and you guys have over 2,000. How do you make that up in Athens? Is it local community? Is it college students, kids from Atlanta coming up? Could you sort of talk about the mix of those that attendance, where it comes from, and how do you get them there?
It's mostly a combination of our community and community engagement, and engaging our student body. While we also have a lot of people that come from out of town, you know, academies and clubs from Atlanta bringing their juniors. You know, different academies. And Atlanta has a lot of tennis players, as you well know. But just engaging and creating an atmosphere where people feel welcome. You know, and throughout the years, we've held clinics for little kids. You know, we have a second stadium up on the hill here, so we've had clinics during our matches. We've had Easter egg hunts during Easter Sunday during a match. Just being creative, pulling people in, and you know, once you create a sense of energy and a sense of engagement and a sense of excitement, I think you know, a lot of what these players want is that atmosphere that's unique to Athens, right? And you can't have that just passively playing, you know, without much emotion. So what you give as a player, energy wise, you get back twofold, tenfold sometimes, right? I think people want to be a part of that atmosphere. And I think in Athens, we have gotten to the point where we've created that for the fans. And so it's not hard to keep people coming back once they come. You know, I've had so many people that I encountered go like, you know, I've never been to a college tennis match and only a couple, you know, tennis matches in my life. But when I come to the University of Georgia, you know, today, I'd never thought never knew this was so exciting, you know, and it's, you know, I relate, like you go to the U.S. Open, you don't go to the U.S. Open and just see one court, you know, for the most of us, unless you go at night and Ash is the only thing going. You know, you go to the U.S. Open and, you know, you watch a little bit here and you know, watch on an outside court, and then you go to the grandstand and you see for a set, and you move around. You want to watch a little bit of doubles. You watch the women, you watch the men, you watch mixed doubles, you watch, you know, different players. And sometimes a match can get boring. But the beautiful thing about college tennis is, you know, you know, if a match gets boring, you just look one or two courts down from you, and there's something you can gravitate to. You may relate to a single. I know my wife relates to one or two players and connects with their energy a lot more than others for whatever reason. And I think that's the beauty of college tennis. And we need to find a way to promote that and to, you know, continue to get people to come out and just try to grow the sport that way.
Yeah. Coach, I'm curious, you know, it surprises me that in a lot of colleges that the matches are, the fan is not the focus. And what I mean by that is they might do a Friday match at 10 a.m. Why do you think some universities focus on orienting the match around fan engagement and participation and viewership? Because you're right. When we went to the national championship, we've been to regular season matches. The environment in Athens is just fantastic. And it does exactly what you said. It makes you want to come back and be part of that again. Why do you think some schools just don't focus on it? Play their match on Friday at 10 a.m. and get on the road so they can play their Sunday match?
Okay, they just sounds like they're focusing more on convenience, on personal convenience. I don't know. I can't tell you that. In the Southeastern Conference, a long time ago, we just decided that we should try to play matches at night. That's at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock. So on Fridays, you can schedule as late as 6 or 7 p.m. I think it is. You play sometimes Friday, Sunday. On Sundays, we get it. We have to get back to go to class on Monday. Sometimes the last flight out is at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. We have to account for that. So most of our Sunday matches are at 1 o'clock after people get out of church or lunch or whatever.
Which makes total sense. Yep.
And try to promote it that way. But, I don't recall last match I played at 10 o'clock other than maybe, in an SEC championship where you only have 6 courts and you have four matches back to back. But, you just have to think, look, we're not very valuable to our athletic director if we have 5 people in the grandstand. They're not gonna put money into your facility until you can prove that you're working hard enough to make the sport relevant. So I challenge coaches to try to reach out, connect with the local tennis pros, local tennis clubs. Community engagement is huge. Student engagement. I had for 40 years, 30 something years, our tennis team go out and talk to fraternities and sororities and try to get them out. I even contemplated putting a jacuzzi on top of the grandstand. And the fraternity that brings out the most people, they can use the jacuzzi. That didn't go too well.
That's what I'm talking about. That would have been fun. It'd have been popular, Coach. That would have been popular. The legal department insurance probably wouldn't have liked it, but the fraternities would have loved it.
That didn't go too well. But just finding ways to connect and make it fun. If you're shushing fans, if you're shushing fans in the grandstand because they're talking, they're not coming back. If you got your referee going over there and say you got to be quiet, you ladies can't be talking that loud. You got to move away. People are not going to feel welcome. People are going to go where they're having fun and are able to participate. I think while it's important, make sure that our fans are being showing good sportsmanship and not being insulting and saying things that shouldn't be said. Other than that, I believe that if you're not trying to distract or yell in the middle of a second serve, I think fans should be encouraged to just be there and have fun.
I agree 100%.
Yeah, I think that was some wisdom for younger coaches in college that was really important. And a lot of them want to come to Georgia and be the coach because of the atmosphere. What I think some of them don't realize is they can be part of creating that atmosphere wherever they are. So I love the answer. And I think also realizing that being relevant to the athletic director, a part of that helps you with your facilities. And that happens when you have a crowd there, right?
Yeah.
So the coach really is a part of all of that. It doesn't just happen by accident. So appreciate that answer, Coach. Go ahead, Scott.
Yeah. And Mitch, speaking of your facility, I know you guys have a new indoor facility coming in and some improvements. When will that indoor facility be available? And I assume it'll be ready by 2026 when you guys host.
It's supposed to be ready February 6th. So a month and a half.
Awesome.
I get to look at it. I get to look at it and go like, that's coming along, or that's going a little slow. What's going on? They've already poured the asphalt for the tennis courts inside. Okay. So right now they're working inside and just all of the little things that usually take the longest. I'm hoping that the facility will be ready on time because we're scheduled to play Georgia Tech on February 6th, the first day that they're supposed to be open. So, they're running tight. You know how everything goes.
Yeah.
It's a $28.5 million facility. It's just phenomenal. And it completes, our facility in many ways. We had our new grandstand rebuilt. We have a completely new grandstand for 3 years old now. The press box, new press box, elevators, ADA, our old stadium wasn't ADA. I mean, we built it in 1980 and didn't have an elevator for the press box. And now we have a stringing room and bathrooms and, all kinds of things down underneath the grandstands. And, along with our indoor facility, we have completed, I think for now and for a good long time, improvements in our facility. And we're looking forward to hosting the NCAA championships in 2026.
Well, we're looking forward to being there as well. But want to talk real quick about recruiting and sort of your approach to it, and then how you identify recruits, and sort of talk about how important it is for you to have a balance maybe between international and U.S. players, and just open up to that.
Well, yeah. I mean, I believe that the University of Georgia is a state university, and so we try to get the best player from the state if he can help us. We believe that with our tradition of developing players and the atmosphere that we have here, and the experience that kids have when they play at the University of Georgia, and the tradition that we've built, we're successful in recruiting, regionally because of that. So, we try to look at the best players in the South and best players in the state, best players in the South. And again, you can't have success anymore just being a completely American team. It's hard. If in 2001 we won the NCAA championships with the team of all Americans, but that's hard to do. And it's becoming harder and harder. This is so much talent, and we're able now to recruit all across the globe, and people in Eastern Europe and in South America, all over Europe, are now discovering that they can, come through college in order to accomplish being a successful professional. So more and more tennis players are discovering, college tennis as a viable option to develop. So we have more players. We have a bigger base to recruit from. But for us, with exceptions, I guess, I'm not sure that many, but, we always have one or two, sometimes three players that are international, but we've been able to continue to recruit some of the top American talent, and we always enjoy that. But I think it adds to our program when we have one or two players or three players from different parts of the world. They bring different perspective. Our American kids are enriched by them and what they have to offer, and so I am not opposed to it. And but at the same time, I believe that we all should try to do our part to develop American tennis, especially if we're an American institution, and especially if you're in a state institution. That's the way I think when I'm recruiting.
Yeah, and
it's a balanced approach. I think a lot of people would agree with you. Go ahead.
Yeah, 100%. I just say I think what you hit on with how the international players add culture to the program, and it also gives these players that now they want to travel, they want to see things. So I think it really enriches the American experience to play with a kid from Romania or Chile or wherever. And
we've had some of our American kids, like Philip Henning from South Africa. I mean, like Blake Kreuter traveled to South Africa. And that was a cultural. I mean, that's a better education than you have in half your classes.
Right.
And just living the life and meeting people and traveling internationally and so, and he's not the only case. I think that some of these relationships evolve from these kids that come from different parts of the world, and their lives are all enriched.
And I noticed that you guys have also embraced the transfer portal, bringing in players like Hamish Stewart a couple of years ago, last year Theodore Juska, and I don't think anybody loves Georgia more than Theodore Juska, and he was only there for 1 year. So,
yeah, I mean, we've had 3 years, the previous 3 years, where we were very lucky and we benefited from not the transfer portal per se, but graduate transfer. So, Billy Rowe came from Vanderbilt, and he did a master's in 1 year. All 3 of these guys, Tristan McCormick the following year, along with Hamish Stewart. Hamish got his master's in 1 year, and this past year, Theodore Juska, and I don't know anybody that did more promoting on social media. Not even our promotions department could match Theodore.
Robert, you may not know this, Robert, but he started a podcast about Georgia tennis. So, I mean,
did he really?
He was into it.
He spoke at just about every sorority and fraternity, and he went to Carson Beck. Who's our quarterback? Stetson Bennett last year. He got Stetson Bennett to tweet to about 1 million of his followers that we had a match against Kentucky the next day, and the place was filled to the brim, and he played a huge part in creating that atmosphere for us and getting fans.
That's awesome, Coach. That's awesome. That's really cool. Do you know a guy in the communications department named Trey Littlefield?
Sure, he's our longtime sports information department liaison. I've known Trey forever.
Yeah, so in Northeast Mississippi, where I'm at near Oxford, he's from there, and I've known him since he was probably 14.
Oh my God,
good guy, really good guy.
I'm gonna have to tell him to tune in and watch this podcast because he just became famous.
I think he follows us on Twitter, so he can retweet it for us, and we'll retweet for him. But he's a good guy. He's a small town Northeast Mississippi guy. Yeah,
he's the best.
So I'd imagine if you took a poll of every player that was, say, a graduate transfer, but they had to transfer, but they couldn't go back to their old school, I bet 90% would say they want to play their last season at Georgia. I think, I just think that's the crowds, the atmosphere, the competition, the schedule, it's everything a player wants. So I think you've built it, and like you say, just by having the quality players that keep transferring in shows that people that maybe they didn't know college tennis, when they see what college tennis should be, they end up in Athens.
And it's not so much, and it's a source of pride, really. Just players that played like somewhere else, that basically after they graduate and you run into them, they basically, man, we had some rough matches over there. It was tough to win at Georgia, you guys. But you know what? Even though it was hard and it was tough, that was my best memory of playing college tennis, was playing you guys there. And sometimes they beat us, right? Beating you guys over there in front of your fans. That was the best highlight of my career, the highlight of my career. But everybody. And hey, I get, by the same token, a lot of kids that we wound up losing to other programs, when they tell me that, I just, to myself, I told you should have come here.
That's right. That's right.
Hey, Scott, you want to jump in the fast feed?
Yeah. If you have a few minutes, we can just jump into the fast feed here, if you don't mind.
What's that?
Yeah. Fast questions, fast answers.
Quick answers.
Oh, Lord.
Okay. So we'll start with when you guys are on the road, what's your go-to restaurant before a match?
The guys love places like Cava and some of these Bole, and they're healthy, but they're pretty fast. But I insist a lot of times on doing more sit downs. I honestly believe that, and this is not a short answer, but I believe that our team really grows together at dinner.
Yeah.
Just putting their phones aside and just talking and spending time together. That's quality time, I think, for our team. But Chipotle, they love Chipotle.
That's right.
Every coach says that.
Yes.
Every player says that. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
And is that a rule though when you have a team dinner that the phones are down?
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, sometimes we put them. Everybody puts their phone in the middle of the table, and we don't touch them. But it's gotten to the point where we don't really have to say it much, and they understand. I'll say, going back to food, they won't argue when I take them to Fogo de Chao and spend over $1,200. They love that.
Nice place. Yeah, nice place.
Yeah.
Well, tell us about something about college tennis that you would change.
That I would change. Oh, I don't know. It's a tough one. I've seen the evolution in so many ways. Whether it is do sad or no ad, let or no let. I don't know how much time we're saving with no ad now, after being probably one of the biggest proponents of no ad. I just don't know that we're saving a whole lot of time. I could go back and say some of my best memories are when we used to play 2 out of 3 sets in doubles, and doubles was after singles. And when the match was tied 3-all, to have 2 out of 3 sets in doubles, man, that was a marathon. But some of the most exciting finishes were a long time ago when we did that. But I'm not saying that let's go back to that. But I don't know that I would change a whole lot, other than just, I would love to see tennis, college tennis on TV, and I would like to see Tennis Channel come to the realization that they have a responsibility a little bit too, in the development and how we grow the game. If you're calling yourself a tennis channel, there's a responsibility that goes along with that.
And that would include not showing pickleball, right?
That's true. I mean, look at the golf. Look at the Golf Channel. They got college golf all throughout, hours upon hours, and they're benefiting our college golf game.
Yeah, and I think
not just that.
Yeah, with 16 players from college tennis in the Australian Open main draw, you're seeing the next generation. So it makes sense. I mean, these are the players, Ben Shelton. These are the players you're going to be watching in 2 or 3 more years down the road.
That's right.
So, all right,
it's a conversation that we have a lot, and I think we totally agree. So go ahead, Scott.
Yeah. Best book about tennis and non-tennis book.
I have several. I have a collection of books that are not about tennis. Magic of Thinking Big, Napoleon Hill. I love as well. Master Key to Riches. Just all books that were instrumental in changing how I thought as a tennis player, my thinking as a tennis player. I don't read a whole lot of tennis books, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Personal development books, are more my take.
Gotcha.
Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. So, tell us who your favorite ATP player right now to watch is.
I would have to say Alcaraz. It's mind-blowing what he does. I mean, the explosiveness, the speed, the creativity. He's revolutionizing our sport. I mean, it makes me wonder how long can he stay healthy. How do we go from the athleticism is incredible. I'm so excited about this year, seeing now, because I've always said Sinner hasn't gotten physically to where Alcaraz is yet, but he seems to be getting there. That's gonna be the next, I think, big rivalry. Roger Rafa, and then the Djokovic. But I think that's gonna be something that we're gonna enjoy for years to come.
Yeah, Sinner and Alcaraz, whenever they play, it's must-watch TV. They just bring out the best in both of each other, and it's just amazing tennis to watch. 100%. Let's see. What's the biggest waste of time on the practice court?
The biggest what?
Waste of time.
Well, biggest waste of time is wasting time. Um, everything that's not being productive or biggest waste of time. We took our benches off the court. Nobody can sit down at practice. We take a short sip of water. We come together for the next drill. I give instructions not only on what we're doing, but what it's meant to accomplish, so that they know why they're doing the drill, what it's meant to accomplish, and we go. Just extending, talking about things that are not important. Having time, idle time is the worst thing to have during practice. Idle time.
Love that answer.
Yeah, I think for young coaches, the why we're doing the drill we're doing and the skill that the drill is attacking. A lot of young coaches just grab bag. Let me just pull the drill out of the bag and we'll do this drill. Why? I don't know. Just because we're doing a drill. And so I think a lot of young coaches don't realize every drill has a purpose. That's great to hear. So last question, best thing about being a Georgia Bulldog, and then we'll let you go.
Just a sense of family that, when you come through our program, I'm speaking now as a former player, not as a coach, just the relationships, the sense of family. I share so much with players that were here prior to us even getting scholarship. We didn't get scholarships until 1968. Georgia didn't become relevant until the first time we won the SEC championship was like 2 years later. Florida had scholarships. Tulane had scholarships. Georgia Tech had scholarships. They were in the SEC, Tulane and Georgia Tech. Big mistake. They left. But anyway, Georgia became relevant in 1970, and the things that I can talk to somebody that came through our program in the 50s, and a good bit older than myself, and some of the things that I can talk to some of my players that played in the 2010s. It's just something so many things that we share, that we have in common. Experiences, what it means to be part of our program is something that I've been able to hold on to and continue to foster and develop. And I think that it is the glue that holds us together.
Yeah, it's not just a 4 or 5 year thing. It's for life. It's kind of what you're saying. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well, Coach, thanks so much for being on. As we mentioned, you're one of the biggest names in college tennis. You've been around for a long time, and you've had such a successful career, and you've no signs of slowing down. So, thrilled to have you on the show.
Good to be with you, Scott.
Thanks, Coach.
Take care.
Thanks, Coach. All right, have a Merry Christmas.
Talk to you soon.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Giving me wind and rain, you're some kind of butterfly. Baby, you give me midnight. You whip up my appetite. Don't leave me here high and dry. Oh, well, I don't wanna jinx it, baby, and twist myself at the spine. Don't wanna overthink it, baby. It's just tweet your body, your mind. Baby, you give me ice and fire. You're giving me wind and rain, some kind of butterfly. Baby, you give me midnight. You whip up my appetite. Don't leave me here high and dry. Oh, but I don't wanna jinx it, baby. Let's not get